So you shared a bit about understanding
Yeah.
the self before anything else.
Yeah.
A part of that is understanding emotions,
Mm-hmm.
which you may or may not be super comfy
No,
with.
I'm comfortable. It's part of my work.
Yeah,
I
comfy
try.
now at 40. Because the other 2 decades have been like cleared. So we have a question
Yeah.
that asks, what is your process in working through anger? Anger, disappointment,
Yeah.
to forgive and heal.
There's so much in that question. So let's take that one step at a time. I'm not a person who gets angry easily. But of course, I do get angry. I get frustrated. I get irritated. And I think if I lean into the situations that have made me the most angry, I think how I deal with it is first, I give myself permission to be angry. I do not gaslight myself into like just questioning, oh, maybe I shouldn't be angry. Maybe I'm being too sensitive.
Okay.
If I objectively see the facts of the situation are unacceptable, then I give myself the right to experience the anger. I can choose, obviously, how to respond. I don't want to let anger respond on behalf of me, but I do want to respond with awareness that I am angry. So there's a difference in like speaking out of anger and yelling at someone and insulting someone because you just want vengeance on them, and sharing like, hey, you know what you did, that was not good, that was not acceptable, this is why it wasn't acceptable for me, and I am angry, right? I think it's important if I'm angry, to make sure that I've done my own work of like, what are the facts of the situation? Factually speaking, does that violate standards and principles and values that actually objectively matter, not just to me, but maybe to others that are affected by the situation? And if I think, yep, it's unacceptable, then I should be angry. Because if I'm not angry, then there's something wrong with me. I really think so. So for me, the conversation about anger is about questioning whether standards or boundaries have been violated that objectively are deserving of attention. Disappointment is more about making contact with like, did I have expectations in there? So again, same principle, allow myself to feel the disappointment and also to take a step back, question like, okay, the expectations that I had about this person or this situation, are they objectively decent expectations, or are they like unreasonable expectations? Because if they are reasonable and decent, then again, I give myself permission to feel the disappointment. But I don't want to live in anger, nor do I want to live in disappointment. And paradoxically, the way you exit anger and disappointment is to allow yourself to feel it, to talk about it, to process it out, and then you can move out of it. You may go back in it again because situations are like that, but I think denying it or pretending it doesn't exist or minimizing it away or even expressing it in a way that is not fruitful to the conversation, I think that doesn't help you with it. So the question of forgiveness then is a huge one, because I think forgiveness is not about forgetting. It is not about denying. I think you can only experience and practice forgiveness if you allow yourself to acknowledge the truth and the realities of what was done to you or done to others, and examine it almost with a clinical, objective view. Because you do need that. You have the right to your emotions, but it's a bit difficult to assess the situation if you're in your emotions all the time. So you need to exit your emotions temporarily, take a look at it objectively. And for forgiveness to happen, I think you cannot depend on the other person's response or that person's behavior. I think forgiveness on your part can look like I have made contact with the reality of the situation and I'm willing to do my own work of I want to move on in a fruitful way. I will choose to set certain boundaries that allow me to act in my integrity, that allow me to have as generous as possible an interpretation of you, the offender, and I will move on to live my life. If you want to live your life too, or you want to mend a relationship with me, that's possible. But if it's not, or if you are in denial or you don't want to come to the table, that's okay. You live your life, I will live mine, and I will move on.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's what forgiveness means to me. Because I think if you give too much power to the other person's response to complete your forgiveness work, you can live in the past for a very, very long time. And I am not interested in that because there's just so much in the present and the future that deserves more time and energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's when you say it in so many words, it almost feels like it's such a straightforward process, but of course it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, how would you help somebody first make contact with that emotion and process that emotion?
Yeah. I think if something unacceptable has happened to you, I don't think your first port of call is forgive. That's jumping the gun. I think if something unacceptable has happened to you, there's a lot of work in just let me sit for a while to actually understand what happened to me. Because depending on the situation you're in, it could be actually remarkably complex. There could be multiple realities of that person did something unacceptable and that person is also someone I like or someone I respect, or maybe it was your parent, you know, and both truths and many truths could be true. Yeah, so even that acknowledgement of the fullness of the truth of what happened is a long process. Yeah, so I would say don't rush the process of forgiveness. Don't rush into forgiveness. Take your time to fully appreciate that something happened to you. And only when you see that and feel that more fully, then do you know what you are forgiving. Because I think some people rush into forgiveness without knowing fully what are they forgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's not about knowing 100% of what happened to you. It's okay that years later it emerges another piece like, oh gosh, I didn't realize that happened as well. Man, I'm mad again and I got a new thing to forgive. And that's how it can happen. Because sometimes really, really bad, complex things happen to people. And if you're listening and you're in that category of something really, really bad happened to you, I want you to also know that forgiveness requires you to see that maybe what happened to you was not your fault. Yeah, sometimes that's what's in the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like what you said, you know, not letting yourself gaslight yourself into thinking otherwise. And the whole blame part of it is such a huge thing that takes away from the experience, which is really hard for the person.
Yeah. And I want to give a special shout out to bystanders. And I guess I'm thinking of like Danny's episode on like survivors. Like, I think if you are the one who is observing a friend who something really bad happened to them, and you are not personally involved and you don't really know the depths of, let's say, the situation or the story that they've been swimming in, I don't think it's loving or kind to go up to that person and say, hey, why don't you forgive them? It's like easy for you to say. You are not in situation. Like, I think journey with them, support them in the difficulty of going through that process, understanding what happened, and just help them feel safe and supported as they themselves explore their own choice of when to forgive, how to forgive, who to forgive. But on your end, as the lovely bystander, it's not your job to like say why you don't forgive. Okay.
Yeah.
And like you go own self, ask own self.
Yeah. Or even worse, when they say you still feel like that, you still feel so angry. Oh my goodness.
No, not helpful.
Yeah. That is super invalidating of the whole experience for this other person. Yeah. Things not to do.
Yeah, no, don't do.